Diavik Diamond Mines Incorporated has submitted an amendment application to adjust their Type A water license for the Diavik mine, the purpose of which is to authorize reconnection. So they do have a discharge point right now that is regulated by their license from the Land and Water Board. But at the end of the day, the hope is that Diavik will, once done operations, be able to close and reclaim the mine site so that it's passively, okay and protective of the environment, and not a lot of active treatment is needed. So this proceeding is really geared towards and focused on how do we authorize in a water license that passive reconnection from, runoff from various points around the island, kind of running back into Lac de Gras.
What are some of the considerations with that? What are some of the potential impacts that this hearing will look into?
Well, this hearing is interesting because the first thing to note is that it doesn't have all the technical details. So people are wondering, well, what's the water quality going to be? For example, that's going to be running off into Lac de Gras. And this hearing isn't about that. This hearing is about what requirements or what conditions need to be in that license to ensure that the company makes sure that the water quality is good enough before those collection ponds or those other places around the mine site are reconnected to Lac de Gras. So it doesn't include a lot of those technical details. That's one important piece. That all of that conversation will happen through the closure planning process. And so there's a closure and reclamation plan, a CRP. Diavik does have an approved one, and their final closure and reclamation plan 2 years before the end of commercial operations is expected at the end of this calendar year. So through that process, people will talk about the closure criteria, i.e. those water quality criteria, those standards or concentrations of parameters that are acceptable to kind of go off into Lac de Gras.
Often these are quite technical proceedings, the closure and reclamation plan, things like that, they're big plans. They contain a whole lot going on. Are there some ways that people can get plain English summaries of what's going on here? Are there easy ways to get a summary of what exactly is happening?
Yes, the application itself is available on the board's public registry at www.wlwb.ca. Also, the presentations from all the parties and interveners, as well as Diavik themselves summarizing their application, is available on the online registry. So that's a really great visual tool to see what this application is about, what this conversations are about, what the hearing next week will be about.
People will be able to watch it online as it goes on. How can you participate in that? If people go and look at this and they have questions, or they want to actually follow along and questions arise as they're watching, how do people get involved?
Well, there's a couple ways, Ollie. First, we always schedule a set time for the public to ask questions. So on day one, following Diavik's presentation, following lunch, so 1:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we'll open the floor for any questions from the members of the public. Also, after each of the 4 interveners' presentations, including Diavik's, when we go through the order of questioning, the public is always afforded another opportunity to ask questions at that time. And during the course of the proceeding and the hearing, if folks are watching it on the Clecho Government Facebook page or the Cabinet Radio Facebook page or the Land and Water Board's website through live streaming, there is a contact at the board. Someone will be designated and their email address listed. So if you have any questions, you can send it in. And if it's a clarification or information, we're happy to provide that. And if it's actually something for one of the presenters, it'll be read into the record at the appropriate time.
And just quickly, generally speaking, what happens after the public hearing stage?
So after the public hearing, there's a step called undertaking. So any information, any requests that came up during the hearing to the company and the applicant or one of the other parties, those undertakings are just a request for more information formally, and folks get like a week or 2, depending on the magnitude of the undertaking and the nature of it. And after that, there will be a draft license that will be circulated around for parties to comment on. And after that step, both the parties and the applicant are afforded an opportunity to prepare written closing arguments. So they can kind of summarize, their outstanding concerns or their recommendations at that time now that they've been through the hearing, they've heard all the information, they've seen the undertakings, they've seen a draft license, so they get that last opportunity to inform the board and let them know, that they're good to go or that they have concerns and what those are and what those recommendations should be. And then the board will deliberate, and staff will prepare reasons for a decision that reflects the board's decisions, and that will go off to the minister for approval.